Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to the Cireson webinar on how to dramatically increase incident resolution efforts with modernized IT service management. I'm Billy Wilson. I'm a solutions architect with Cireson. With me to do the demo today and actually show you the technology in action is Seth Cousins, who is the product manager for the apps that we're going to be talking about. A couple of quick housekeeping items. This is a non-interactive webinar, so if you have questions, please post them in the question space in your GoToMeeting applet, and we'll address those at the end of the webinar during the Q&A session. If we can't answer your question immediately or we run out of time, just email me. My email address is right there on the slide, and we can follow up with you. I am recording this webinar, so it will be available out on the Team Cireson Vimeo site, hopefully today. If not, then in the next day or so. So a little bit about us, for those of you who are not familiar with us. We're headquartered in San Diego with employees across the United States, Europe, and APAC regions. We've been in business for about 5 years, starting out as a consulting company. We have over 1,200 customers in about 63 countries and I'm sorry, 65 countries, and well over 3 million licensed end users. We have a ton of consulting hours, as you can see here, which shows that as a consulting practice, we've got a lot of experience in what we do. And then the thing I really like to point out on this slide is that we do have a 99% renewal rate, which really goes to show that we go the extra mile for our clients, and they really stick with us. We have some accolades. You can see we're a Microsoft Gold partner, and then we have some other accolades from Inc. 500 and so on and so forth. And if you want to see more about that, please check out our website at cireson.com and view all the awards we've been given. Here's a few of our customers. You can see that, we're not in any given one or two industries. We're kind of across the board, being as how IT service management is across the board. So, we're in retail, we're in automotive. You can see we even have some sports teams, which is pretty cool. Healthcare, just pretty much all of the industry spaces. So today at Cireson, we made it our mission to kind of make it easier for companies to get the most out of their system center infrastructure. To that end, we built intuitive, easy to use applications that not only make System Center simpler and more accessible, but also combine different tool sets that are available with System Center with integration across our applications. So today we're going to be focusing on the Analyst Portal for Service Manager and our True Control Center portal for Configuration Manager, and how they can work together to make it easier for your frontline analysts to be able to troubleshoot and get their jobs done efficiently. And we also recently released our True Software Asset Management portal for Microsoft licensing compliance. So be sure to check out the webinars that we have for that on our Vimeo team site or our website for more information. One of the top requests we commonly hear from our service desk and administrative support teams is they want the ability to do more for end users in regards to troubleshooting issues and service request fulfillment directly from their workstations, right when the call is being had, right when the ticket is being picked up. ConfigMan has the tool sets to be able to do a lot of this troubleshooting and software deployment, but to this point, ConfigMan admins are usually pretty reluctant to give access because there's a lot of risk involved and a lot of damage can be done without the proper security being in place. So we built True Control Center to be able to provide those tool sets at a mitigated risk level. And Seth's actually going to show you how you can use some of this built-in remote functionality tools in Control Center directly from our Service Manager portal, Analyst Portal, so that your support teams can be more efficient and productive. So here's a look at what the True Control Center portal looks like, along with an overview of the top features for support teams and administrators, which we'll look at more closely in the demo in a few minutes. You can see that we have remote troubleshooting tools, which is really important, and we have the ability to deploy software, unlock and reset passwords, view reports, and so on and so forth. So that being said, let's go ahead and see all of this in action. So I'm going to hand it over to Seth to be able to take over the show and show what we're doing.
All right. Switch to my screens here. Billy, if you can let me know once it comes up.
I can see it.
Okay, so what we're looking at today is the Service Manager portal, and then of course we'll be looking at how we can integrate the True Control Center into the Service Manager portal today. And we'll also discuss briefly some things that are coming with that level of integration, and then obviously we'll be showing that at the same time. So first of all, we have the Service Manager portal here. I imagine a good number of you are familiar with the Service Manager portal. Even if you are not customers, you've probably seen it. It's a mature product. It's been around for a while. It's changed in a lot of ways in terms of how we've updated the interface and those sorts of things. For the most part, we've tried to keep it true to what our users are used to and have enjoyed about it. Now, with that being said, we're always trying to bring new levels of integration and new capability to it. And so one of the things that we've brought in the most recent update that will be coming out here next week is the ability to interface with the Cireson True Control Center. Now, the True Control Center we'll take a look at here in a second, and what it provides. The initial implementation, the initial integration limits to the remote management capabilities that are provided within the True Control Center, and that's where a lot of the troubleshooting ability lies, and that's why we focused on that integration. So let's take a real brief look at True Control Center, just so we have some familiarity before we start to bring that functionality into the Service Manager portal. So what you see here is the dashboard page, but what we'll primarily be working with today is the computers section of the True Control Center. This interfaces with Configuration Manager. So if you have Configuration Manager, it will bring in the Configuration Manager data, and for True Control Center, Configuration Manager is a requirement. Once you have that data in the system, you can see all your different clients. You can search for and filter through your clients, and that will show you your users' computers or even the servers that are within your environment. Now, today we'll be focusing on the troubleshooting aspect of things because we're approaching this from an analyst perspective, someone that would be using the Service Manager portal. So if you are using the Service Manager portal, you'd be most interested in a Windows 10 desktop or enterprise machine, most likely. So in this particular case, we have two of those in this demo environment. If we look at them, we can see some basic information down here, but the real meat and potatoes here is the ability to pull up Remote Manage. When you pull up the Remote Manage functionality, you get this nifty little slide out that comes into play, and then it loads up the various information about that actual machine. And you can see from this that you get a nice little summary of details on the machine itself. Things that include physical memory, whether or not the client itself is healthy, organizational unit, whether it has primary users, even its IP address, its antivirus definitions if they're coming in, and even its uptime. The next section is the ability to perform actions against the client itself. And assuming that the client is actually online and reachable from the server itself, which in this case it is, as you can see by the green dot indicated here, you have the ability to run these actions against this particular client. So a few of these things are things like being able to start a heartbeat DDR. Some of this will depend on your familiarity with Configuration Manager today, but some of them are pretty obvious, such as being able to reboot the machine remotely, shut down the machine remotely. We even have the capability of running PowerShell against the remote machine. So we can do something like getting the services on that remote machine, and it will actually run that from the server to the client. So it doesn't initiate it from here inside the browser, but it actually, you send the command out to the server actually runs the command using secure permissions, and then you get back the results. So you can see here that here's a list of services that are running on that particular client machine. And with that, there's also various Configuration Manager actions you can take. These actions mostly are done via WMI. So you actually have some WMI actions that you can run as well. which also tells you that if the configuration manager client on those machines is not working, you can perform some remediation to the client itself, which through configuration manager, if the client is not working for whatever reason, then in a lot of cases, you don't really have a lot of options. You've kind of got to get onto that machine remotely and do some work on it. Here, you can actually repair the configuration manager client, even reset the policy, or even uninstall the client entirely, and you still won't lose your access to that particular machine. We also have some local actions that are available. These work in conjunction with the Cireson application launcher. The Cireson application launcher is a small client-side application that you can install for your analysts, and it allows you to trigger remote software or local software via a website. So normally within a web application, you can't launch something like a folder or a remote desktop session because they're local machines. For security reasons, that's limited. Well, in this particular case with the app launcher, we've hardened those specific endpoints so that you can do very controlled launching of applications through the app launcher itself. So in this particular case, I can click the remote desktop, and you can see it's going to want to open the app launcher here. And I can tell it to always do this, but I just left this for demonstration purposes. Once I do that, it'll pop up, and you can see the remote desktop connection came up, and I'm actually connected to this machine, showing this to you. So it's letting me know in this particular case that I can't do that because I'm already connected to it. If I was to open the remote control session, this launches the configuration manager remote control session. And in this particular case, I don't have that installed. So if I was to look, I would be able to see in the app launcher logs here that it's not installed. So was not found in the supported paths. I can open a log folder though. So I can launch directly to the log folder on a particular client. And so you can see here it launched it. I don't particularly have access to that in this particular client, which is why you see it launched to my Explorer. There's a lot of various actions that you can do to bring up the information that you need for that particular machine. We also have the ability to update deployments. We can update machine policy or even user policy using the configuration manager client itself. And there's a few actions here that are server-based, such as removing the client from configuration manager or even cloning it, even reinstalling the operating system if you have that set up within the True Control Center. If you are familiar with configuration manager, there's the ability to add and remove computer from collections. So you can see that that's excuse me, pretty self-explanatory here. Some client query-based collections are not able to be added or removed from here because of the complexity of those queries, and those queries would then reset that membership anyway. We also have a little bit deeper look into the hardware itself. We can even bring up printers that are on that particular machine, and we can look deeper at the network adapter settings, things such as MAC address, default gateway, and even the DHCP server that machine is using. All of this is based directly, a lot of this is based directly out of the client itself and not something that you'll find within configuration manager's data in many cases. We denote that in certain instances by the small client-based icon that sits next to the value. You can get this information by pulling it directly from the client. We have that capacity within the remote manage here. You can click pull, and what it will do is it will actively reach out to the client via WMI, and it'll pull back a large subset of information that in some cases just validates what's in configuration manager, so you can see it side by side. And in other cases, it actually pulls back information that would not otherwise be available within configuration manager. You can see after it finished that process, it went ahead and refreshed my screen so that I can see the most recent values. Software is another instance of where you can see those two sets of data. So we have the configuration manager set of data. This is the inventoried software within configuration manager that comes from that particular machine. But we can also take a look at the client data, which this is software that's actually on the machine from that's there since the last time we pulled it back. So if we look, we did the pull button a few seconds ago, so this information is very new. From here, we can actually perform actions such as repairing an application or uninstalling an application. This will use WMI to trigger the MSI exec inside that particular machine, which can then repair the piece of application or uninstall it depending on if that's configured properly. We also have the ability to pull in live updates, so to see what updates are available for a particular machine. This particular machine does not have any updates available. It's already up to date, so both of these are reporting the same thing, so that's good. We can also see what processes are actively running on a particular machine thanks to being able to pull that data directly from the machine. So we have the ability to terminate that process as well. So if I'm looking through here and I wanted to find something like the Windows time service, I can do a quick search for, I don't even remember what it is, so I guess it's hard to search for it. Let's move a few pages, 93 different ones coming on here. So I can look at the logon UI, for instance. So pulling that up, I could find the logon UI, and if there was a problem with that particular instance, I could even close it, terminate the process. Switching to services, in the services, we can see what our running services are actively on the particular box. And from those services, we actually have the ability to add and remove particular services. Primary users, in the primary user section, we have the ability to add new primary users, such as myself, which I'm already on there, so it's by user device affinity, but I can add a new user here, and then the new user will pop up down below. I have a particular issue here for whatever reason, as is a demo, and if we go here, we can actually see the logs, and the logs will tell us what is in that particular issue. I'm running the very latest version of this, including not even the version that will be released, but the version that will be released next. So probably running into an issue there. But as you can see, there's a lot you can do within the remote manage functionality itself. So you can probably already imagine how a lot of that is very useful from a service manager perspective. So if we're thinking of this from a service manager perspective, we have an integration here. If we go to our admin settings underneath the service manager portal itself, we have an integration settings section. All we need to do is enter our base URL for our True Control Center portal. Once that base URL is entered in there, that will give us the new capabilities. Then when we go to, say, a service request, when we look at that service request, we can see that it's in progress. If we look at the related items section, we actually have the ability to add some related items. So I'm going to go ahead and add a Windows computer. So we'll add a Windows computer here. Let's find a good one. We'll add both the client 02 and client 01 in this particular case, just to give an example of both. From here, I can go ahead and apply this. This will save those to this particular ticket. I did not have to save them to use the functionality, but using them gives a better example of what the functionality, where it's triggered from. So looking at this here, you can see I have both these clients. We have a little control center icon to indicate that these particular clients have been identified as having remote manage capabilities. So we're going to go ahead and click on that icon for that particular client, and it brings up the same sort of slide you saw in the control center itself. In this particular case, it's now inside Service Manager Portal, but it is still coming from the control center. And within here, this is client 02, which is currently turned off. So you can see that it is not active and online. So I'm not able to pull live data from it. But I can see when the last time was I pulled data, which in this particular case was never. And then I can also see what information is coming out of Configuration Manager. But you can see there's no client icons because I don't get any information that was pulled directly from the client. If you go to the actions and logs section, you can see that most of the actions are actually grayed out because I do not have the ability to make any of these changes against the client while it's offline. I can still use remote desktop, remote control, my log folders, assuming that they are actively working. Assuming that machine is actually online and I have the capability of getting there. And then we, of course, have server-side actions, which don't depend on the client itself to be able to make those changes. So those are still active. If I was to look at hardware in this particular instance, I haven't pulled any of my hardware data. So you can see that network actually comes from the Configuration Manager. But you can see from printers, there's no client data available, and printers don't come from Configuration Manager, especially not network printers. And so I can actually pull that data if the client was online, but it's not. It's currently unavailable. If it was available and I hadn't pulled this data, it would give me an option to pull it right here. And same thing with software. So if I look at my software, I can see this active from configuration manager data, but if I go to the client data, there is no client data available. My processes and services, no client data available. And the counter of that, if we look up client 01 from our connection here and our related configuration items, we can see that that one is online. This is the one we were looking at previously. And we can see that I can look at my processes and my hardware. I can see my printers and everything else that I pulled. It also gives me the ability to pull that information. So you can see it's really quite easy to bring the information in there, to switch between the two, and then to perform some remote control and remote functionality that you would not otherwise be able to do. So just imagine from an analyst perspective, being able to troubleshoot the user's machine, especially if it's automatically attached to this because it's an affected configuration item or that user owns it. So it's kind of a roundabout, whereas all the information from configuration manager that goes into service manager can now be utilized in the true control center, and then we bring the two pieces together again. So with that, we could bring up a machine. We could see they're having some particular issue that we'd like to help them deal with. We can, of course, do something like bring up PowerShell, and we can see, you know, who I am currently, who I'm running this service as. I can see what they have installed. I can see what is in this particular folder. I can even run a script for them if I need to clean up some something that's causing a problem. There's really a lot that we can do here, and the sky is really the limit. In the future, we'll even have custom actions that are available. And coming soon, just here in a few weeks, we're actually going to be releasing the same sort of functionality for users. So you'll be able to see user information in the same sort of slide out, and that integration will be coming over at the same time into the Service Manager portal as well. So be able to perform things like a user's unlock or a password reset right here from within Service Manager portal, just from the True Control Center slide out. And with that, Billy, would you like to, I don't see any questions yet, but I think we can move into questions now.
Yeah, let me, we'll go ahead and just keep going.
I was gonna say, was there anything you'd like to add prior to moving into that, or?
Not really. I mean, you know, the biggest value that we're having out of this is being able to take our Analyst Portal, which is a process-oriented, you know, solution. We're able to take Configuration Manager and went on top of that, our True Control Center, which is an action-oriented solution, and give you that combined functionality for your service desk support or desktop support or whoever is actually needing to use that, to be able to really get in and troubleshoot and get things done and get things fixed right then and there. So that's one of the things that we're always looking forward to doing.
Exactly. So the idea here is to get you from point A to point B faster, and ultimately to expedite the end users or your customers' process from getting from point A to point B, which is from the time that they report a problem to the time that they actually get with an analyst to the time that their problem has been resolved. So we're just trying to expedite that process and provide you with the tools as quickly and in one place as much as possible to be able to solve those issues. So with that, we'll open it up to questions and see if anybody has any, and we can answer those now. We have some time. While we're waiting to see if we have any particular questions, we're also open to if people are interested in additional functionality, or if there's functionality they feel like would really make a big difference for them. You can also enter that in the question box as well, if that's something that you're interested in. If there's something you feel is just absolutely missing, but if that was there, then that would be just the bee's knees, if you will. We're looking at those things all the time. One of the reasons we have such a great renewal rate is because we are always looking to implement on our integrate with our products and always move them, iterate to the next stage. So it's a big thing for us, and we iterate very quickly and add new features and those sorts of things. So that's something we're definitely focused on. Like I mentioned already, we're be having the user management integration coming out in the True Control Center soon, which will be coming at the same time as an integration into Service Manager Portal for those people that own both. And then we'll also be bringing things around deployments and even group management with those in the near future. So.
And with that, we also, a lot of these things that we built in came directly from feedback from our clients, from people in the System Center community in general. So, you know, that's why we really value, you know, your input and your feedback on what you'd like to see and what you think would really increase the value of this product.
Well, I guess we just did a great job of answering all the questions.
That's what I was thinking. Man, we really answered all the questions right away.
Okay. Well, I don't really want to keep everybody for no reason. We've got more coming. We'll have more webinars in the very near future here, and we'll be working through some additional releases here soon. And as we work through those releases, we'll be doing additional webinars to show off the new functionality and the new integrations. And I hope to see you all there.
Yeah, and just real quick before everybody goes, just want to let you know, Cireson started out as a world-class System Center consulting practice, and we never let go of that. So if you need help implementing or customizing either our products or Service Manager, Config Man, or Orchestrator to get you where you need to be, just let us know. Our consultants really believe in teaching as well as doing when we work with our clients, so that when we're done, you can be sailing under your own power. So if you need assistance, just please reach out to us. Or if you want to try any of our apps for free, including True Control Center or the Analyst Portal, just let us know and we can get you a free 30-day license. So with that, if there are no other questions, we both like to wish you a great day and hope you have a great week.
All right, thank you very much.